All right, we are at the top of the hour at 3 o'clock, and I just want to start off by saying welcome. I am wicked excited to get this party started again. It has been a minute since I had a study group. I usually do 2 a year, and I had to hit the pause button. This summer, I was going to do one in July, but I had a grandbaby that showed up in June, and yeah, I wasn't doing anything I didn't have to do, and so judge me all you want, but I needed to take that time off, and I'm so blessed to have been able to do that, and here we are. So I will start off by saying welcome to the 2024. I'm calling this the winter slash spring exam study group because the materials that this study group will accommodate will be the February and the April exam. And then I'll get a little bit more into how I'm going to do things moving forward. But I just want to first introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Tracy Eldridge. I always joke that I'm a recovering 911 director. After spending 20 years in the 911 center, I left to kind of find myself in the path that I was supposed to be on. And I was generously offered a position with Rapid SOS before they became as amazing as they are today. And I had the opportunity to work with an amazing team during my 4 years there and deliver device-based location and now additional data. And that's really, really amazing. While I was at Rapid SOS, I was given the opportunity to start my podcast, On Scene First, with Tracy Eldridge. And from there, I realized that it was time for me to live my truth and my passion, and that was training and educating and consulting and supporting 911 under my own brand, which ultimately became On Scene First. And at On Scene First, I provide just that: training, consulting, support, wherever I'm needed. That's where I go and what I do. And thanks to so many of you for allowing me to come into your centers and to do that. I'm also a part-time instructor for Tony Harrison in the public safety group. I teach 3 classes for Tony. And then every once in a while in my spare time, which isn't a lot, I do the firefighter EMT thing. And while I love doing it, it's just, I've been super busy and not able to do a whole lot with that. So just quick introduction to who I am. You're not going to hear that at the beginning of every session during your 15 weeks or so here. But I do it on the first one because this is the welcome and logistics presentation. And what I also love to do is to bring on the current president of National NENA. And unfortunately, Charlie was not available. Charlie Cullen is the president of National NENA, the 2023-2024 year. So I snatched up my dear friend, Melanie Jones, who is the NENA first vice president this year, and she will move into the presidency. And I always like to bring these folks on to just share a little of their wisdom and welcome you to this study group, because we're going to get close over the next several weeks. And I know they're really excited to have you taking this opportunity to level up. So Melanie, I would like to pass over the screen to you, my dear friend, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much, Tracy. And welcome everybody to Tracy's ENP study group. NENA is very appreciative of Tracy doing these. Over the next several weeks, please take time and learn all you can. As you can see, I have the certifications for NENA and for APCO, and ENP was by far the hardest test that I have ever taken. So please study. You will learn so much, but when you get word that you have passed, it is the greatest moment to know that all of that work was worth it. So on behalf of the NENA Executive Board, welcome. I hope you'll learn a lot. And if there's anything that the NENA Board can ever do, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Excellent. Thank you, Miss Melanie. If there was, so how many years has it been since you got your ENP?
3.
And obviously you see the value in leveling up to that next level in the 911 space. If somebody asked you, why should I get my ENP, what would you tell them?
Well, number one, you learn so much about the things that you will deal with in a 911 center, not just telephony, not just computer aided dispatch, but you learn about all of it: radios, telephone, CAD, the whole 9 yards. And it really gives you a different perspective on everything that each working part has to do to be successful.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you noticed in the chat, I'm wicked excited this year. I'm going to talk to it in just a few minutes, but do you notice in the chat there are a lot of friends here from Canada?
I see that. And Holly, I'm glad to see Holly on here too.
Yeah, so I'm beyond excited. Holly and the folks at NENA Ontario had reached out and said, hey, we'd like to get our ENP numbers up, and it doesn't make sense to reinvent the wheel. So we are joining forces, and they're going to have an opportunity to snatch one of the sessions and kind of bring some knowledge to the Canadian side of the ENP exam. And I'm really excited to do that. So we'll talk more about that later, but it's just really cool seeing them all there.
Yeah, and one piece of advice that I would give anybody: once you become an ENP, keep track of everything you're doing for your recertification. Do not let it sneak up on you after 3 years and go, oh, I need to go back and find out everything I've done. I check my recertification list weekly to see if there's anything to be put on there. Keep it on my desktop. So just keep it handy so that you can do everything as you're physically doing it and fill it in.
Absolutely. And we're going to go through all of that today. Today is really more about the logistics of the exam, the class that we're about to embark on. So I'm ready to get this party started. So Melanie, I just want to say thank you for joining me. I know that we had seen each other a few times over the last couple of weeks. Always want to say thank you so much for supporting me and all of my shenanigans. But I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day and joining us. And you are free to go, my dear.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. All right. So let me just reorganize myself just a minute. There's something that I have to do on my end to make sure that my recording is going to go the way that I want it to, for everybody when you get that recording. So as Melanie mentioned, if anyone has any questions or anything they need at any time, you can reach out to the National NENA Board. I've taken the opportunity to put the picture up here of the folks that are currently on our NENA board, as well as what their title is, and it's by where they are in the picture there. So if you need to know who is the person that is your representative in your area, or want to reach out to one of the folks that has president in their title, those are all there. And I think if I did it right, when you get the PDF, you should be able to just click on that link and it will allow you to email any one of those folks. So I'll go ahead and try that out with Holly later. She can tell me if that worked the way that it was supposed to. So those are all the folks that are representing you. And I'm sure if any one of them were here, they would say, you know, use this opportunity to level yourself up. And who knows, maybe you'll be sitting in that fancy picture one of these days. So I just want to give you a little bit of opening information. So as I mentioned, we will record every week. I won't introduce myself every week, but there are a couple of things that I do need to go over every week. And I learned that this is extremely helpful on my end, to make sure that the folks that are catching this on the YouTube channel without being part of a study group will understand that they have the ability to access all of the information. So this slide you will hear at the beginning of each session. So if you don't want to hear me go over this each week, then come on just a couple minutes later. But I'm usually up to some type of shenanigans before we get started. So first, this particular session is the On Scene First NENA ENP. I didn't change the title. See, so I already screwed myself. I thought I changed it. So this is the 2024. Oh, yeah, 2024 winter and spring study group. I will change that in the PDF. So if you are watching this, this is the start of the winter/spring 2024 study group. The session will run from October 6th, 2023 to January 19th, 2024. If you are watching this video and it is within that time frame and you would like to get access to the Google group, the Google Drive, and the calendar invite to be able to join us in the live session, just head on over to the website that you see there, onscenefirst.com/training/study ENP, or you can click on the QR code that just appeared on the left part of the screen. That'll bring you right to the place where you could register while we are live during that time frame. If you are watching this outside of the live session, so anytime after January 19th, 2024, we will have since ended this session. However, these materials will be good for both the February exam and the April exam. So if you're looking for the information for the April exam, you can also go to the website there. And again, the QR code here will bring you right there. And for that particular one, you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and it's going to allow you to get access to the previous study group materials. And the stuff that is available there are PDFs. All of the PDFs from this particular session will be accessible as soon as we end in January. You'll have access to the YouTube channel, which is public, but a lot of folks will stumble upon the YouTube channel and then request information or access to the previous study group information. You will also get access to a Google Drive that will contain all of the PDFs, any additional resources that I have given you throughout the study group here, any practice exams that I have issued, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, as well as the MP3 audio. So not only do I upload them to YouTube, I also strip the audio from that and I add it to one of the Google Drive folders. So if you are here hearing my voice, there is a chance that you got the calendar invite, but you should also have access to the Google group. And if you just signed up within the last half hour or so, you watching this video after, you may not have got in time because the timing of me getting everybody added had a bunch of folks sign up today. So some folks will get it in the recording. Some folks will be able to get in next week. But if you have joined, you should have or will receive access to the Google group where all of our emails will come from and live, so you can access them very quickly if you need to. And then the next live study group will start on March 8th, 2024. And that's going to be for the summer and the fall exams. And then sadly, I will be going from 2 live study groups a year to 1. And that may change in a couple of years. It's just that things have been going very well with my business, and I am a one-man show, and it was starting to become a lot of time dedicated to the study groups. So what you're going to see is this study group is going to be the kickoff of a pretty thorough, we'll get folks through to the next 2 tests at minimum. And then the same thing will happen with each study group. So there'll be one live one a year, and then the materials will be accessible to anyone from that previous study group. So if you want to be notified when that next study group goes live, and this goes for the folks that are on right now, as well as the folks that are hearing me after January 19th and want to take a later study group, you can visit On Scene first and just go to the bottom of the page or click on the QR code that you see there, and it will bring you right to the subscription button for On Scene First newsletter, and you'll get valuable information there throughout the year, but it's also a way for you to get notified when the link goes live for the March 8th study group. So there's that. I have to start by saying thank you so much to Rapid SOS for being the On Scene First ENP study group premier sponsor. They have done this since I started back in 2021, and they were the 2021 sponsor, the 2022 sponsor, the 2023 sponsor, and they have now committed to being the 2024 premier sponsor of the study group. And I know that if it wasn't for their generosity, I probably wouldn't be able to keep up with the time that this takes. So I'm super appreciative to them, not only for the technology they provide, but for their support of me. And if you haven't put this technology in your 911 center, what are you waiting for? Because it's free, and it's amazing, and it's saving many, many lives every year. So go ahead and shoot a message in the comments if you're using the Rapid SOS technology. It makes me feel good, because I remember there was a time where I was traveling around the country selling a free product that didn't even exist yet, and you guys trusted me and the team to deliver that. So well done. And thank you for embracing technology. Awesome. I love seeing that stuff. So thanks again to Rapid SOS and what they do for all of us. Here is where I had just briefly mentioned. Oh, Chris, you got to fix that. If you can get jurisdiction view, man, you got to get that, because that's where it's at. But here's where I just want to touch a little bit more on our partnership with National Emergency Number Association Ontario. Super excited that Holly and Kate and all the folks up there had reached out to me to partner on the study group. And it was just a no-brainer, right? It doesn't make sense for them to have to reinvent the wheel when the exam itself is pretty consistent. The technology for all of us is pretty consistent across the board, but where it gets a little wonky is during the legislation. And while it is my understanding, and Holly, maybe you can back me up in the comments, it is my understanding that while there isn't specific Canadian questions that pertain to Canadian laws and legislation, there are United States laws and Canadian laws that are very similar, and it makes sense to understand which of those laws are comparable. So that's what I know about that. If there is something different, we're going to have all that information for you when the NENA Ontario folks join the session. We have not set the date for that session yet, but as soon as we do, you all will be advised. And I do recommend that even if you're in the United States, you still jump on and you listen to our folks from Canada and what they're okay, so Holly, there are questions specific to Canadian HR and regulatory matters. Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that, because I've heard a couple of things and I wasn't 1,000%. So thank you for clarifying that. But yeah, makes sense for us to be, I know that I'll be on there as well, because I definitely want to know what it is that they want to share with us. So thank you, Holly and team, for joining us on this endeavor. And if you are from Canada, your QR code is right there. It'll take you right to the ENP part of that website for you guys. And I know you just had your conference. It looked like it was amazing. Hoping to get there one day. All right, so here we are. You are embracing the challenge of getting your name to be listed as an emergency number professional. I'm going to throw a lot of information at you over the next who knows how long, but I don't think there will be a stone that is not unturned. I did this welcome session last year and it laid the foundation. We touched on everything that you are going to need to know about taking this exam from both the NENA side as well as the on-scene first, class logistics, etc. So buckle up and let's go. So the first website that you want to bookmark, oh, and just to let you know, it says it a little later, but I'm going to say it now. You will get an email after the session. You get it by the end of the day on Monday-ish, after the Friday session. If I have a link, just so you know, if I have a link in this PowerPoint, the link will also be added into the body of the email. So you don't have to feverishly write anything down or take pictures or anything, but the link will be available to you in a couple of different places. So, but this is the place where I highly recommend you go first. A lot of folks who see me post on social media, hey, I'm going to do a study group, they may say, yeah, I've thought about doing that. I'll join and attend when I can and see what this is all about, and have not actually gone to the nena.org ENP certification website and really dove in to see what this is all about and what you can expect and what you need to know before, because not everybody's eligible to even take the exam. So we need to make sure that you have all that valuable information. So this is the first place you're going to go. And then at the top of the screen, you're going to see a quick links area where you can just jump down to whatever it is that you're looking for. And I do have, these are screenshots. I do go through all of the things that I think are valuable and that you should be aware of for two reasons. Number one, I will fully 100% disclose in this first session here, I have ADHD, and there are certain things that my brain does differently than others. And I know sometimes it is easier if I listen to somebody speak about the things that I'm supposed to be doing versus relying on myself to go in and actually read the things that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm more of an auditory learner. So if you've already looked at this stuff, great. Just be patient and we'll get to the other stuff in just a little bit. But it gives you quick links you can kind of jump all over. If you're looking for the reason why you should be an ENP, emergency number professional, they're looked at as leaders in the 911 space. I know that on my podcast, I had interviewed Jim Lake from Charleston County, South Carolina, and I had asked him, if somebody, just like I did with Melanie, is, if somebody asked him why or why should I get my ENP, he cited a story on how he got the position that he's in, and it ultimately came down to him and another very qualified candidate, and he had the ENP certification. So it's not just about, learning the information and really having an understanding, especially if you're not exposed to a lot of the technical aspects. Here in Massachusetts, we had a state-run 911 system, and while I was pretty engrossed in knowing how the system worked, we didn't always have the opportunity to have a full understanding of our equipment and what it should be doing and what it shouldn't be doing. So getting this education here might be the only place for folks to get that education. You get, as an ENP, you get discounts on certain NENA things. And as I mentioned with Jim, some management and leadership positions are requiring that you have the ENP certification. So there's that. The fee summary, as you can see there, for NENA members, it is $435. Non-members, it's $575. And then if you have to retake the exam, it would be $175. I will talk about some scholarships that we have available. Right now, I have 7 scholarships. What I can tell you is that time goes on, the number of those will probably go up, but I'll touch base on that in just a little bit. There's certain criteria for folks to qualify for one of the scholarships. I want to send you to the nena.org/page/ENP_study group page. This is where you will find all of the study groups that reach out to NENA and say, hey, I have a study group. There are certain criteria that needs to be met for me to do this study group. I have to be in the NP. That makes sense, right? But all of the study groups that are currently going on around us are usually listed here. There are some smaller ones, maybe a chapter study group or a group of folks get together, and it may not be on here. But just know there's 2 on the top. So you have the Mission Critical Partners and Texas NENA. I do have some information from Texas NENA. They also have some scholarships available. I'll have more information in next week's presentation on the Texas NENA scholarships that are available. There's some criteria there as well, or I will attach it. I'll probably attach it in the email because it's a little bit of a criteria. And then my study group, and then the Colorado NENA is listed as a study group, and those are videos, right? So you can just click on that archive video link or archive sessions, and it will bring you to some archived videos that they have available. Now, those are older videos. There is some things that are missing that have been added to the exam, but nonetheless, they're very good videos. I use them for my exam, especially the folks that are really good at explaining some of the technology piece. So at the end of the day, sign up for as many study groups as you can. It is not an either or situation. It is as many as you can, because everybody does things a little bit different. I do it my way. Mission Critical does it their way. Texas NENA does it their way. Texas NENA is phone calls where they give you access to the worksheet, but they're on a phone call versus a Zoom like this. Mission Critical does do calls like this where you see the person speaking, but they have different speakers each week. And I choose to do my sessions myself because it's what I enjoy doing. And I have gotten, oh, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I will fix that in the chat. I'm missing an S on study groups. So I copied and pasted. So I don't know how that happened, but thank you. I appreciate that. And please don't hesitate to share with me if you do see something that is incorrect on a slide. I appreciate that help and feedback. I always try to do my best, but sometimes it falls through the cracks. So I appreciate you sharing that. So S on the end of study group. So yeah, join all the study groups and learn as much as you possibly can. And if you know of any other study groups that are going on that we don't have on the NENA page, please reach out to me and I'll share that with other folks as well.
How to access the Emergency Response Data Platform. Any public safety agency can access life-saving emergency data through the Rapid SOS Emergency Response Data Platform. There are 2 ways of doing so. Rapid SOS Portal is a powerful web-based tool that enables you to manage emergencies and access location and supplemental data for every call in your jurisdiction. Signing up for Rapid SOS Portal is easy and only takes a few minutes. In addition to emergency management tools and data, Rapid SOS Portal includes a training platform as well as administrative tools to manage user permissions, track usage, and analyze trends in your agency. To learn more and sign up for Rapid SOS Portal, please visit rapidsosportal.com. Rapid SOS also integrates with every major CAD, CPE, mapping, or other public safety softwares. With an integration, you can receive Rapid SOS data through your existing workflow, and you won't need any additional screens, tabs, or windows. To learn more about integrations, visit rapidsos.com/public-safety-partners.
The exam schedule, this is where we are focusing for this particular study group. Winter 2024, the dates for the exam are February 3rd to the 17th. And I will remind you, as January 5th gets closer, that is the application deadline. So when we go through all of this, you're going to then go access the application handbook. And the application is going to be in there, and all of the information is listed on what you need to be able to sit for the exam. So you need to make sure that you have all those ducks in a row before you submit that particular application. And then this recorded session is also good for the spring 2024 because we won't be starting the next study group until March 8th. And then so that will run into this testing period. So, and then the application deadline for the April exam is March 8th. So decide which test you are going to take. Hopefully, if you're here, you're looking to take the winter one, but some folks are going to take the spring and they just want a little more time to study, and that's okay too. And there's folks that might even be here hanging out because they're going to take it in the summer and they just want to get as much of a jump on it as they can. So what is the criteria? I'm not going to read these slides. They are here for you. But let's first talk about there's sometimes a misconception about time, how much time we need to be, especially if somebody is on the commercial partner side. Just know that either or 3 years experience in emergency communications or 3 years experience with a commercial provider of emergency communication products and services. So I know I've already seen some folks on here that have not worked in a 911 center, but they work very closely with 911. So I think it's great that they had the opportunity to take the exam as well. Then there is a point accumulation. A lot of folks get their points or a big chunk of their points because they've been doing whatever it is they've been doing for several years. Okay. So your first component is the 3 years, either in the center or on the commercial partner side. And then you can also add, so you need to have a total of 10 points. And that 10 points can consist of any of the things that you see here. So you earn different points for different things. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just want to be clear. If you look at the experience, some folks get a little bit confused on this, so I will point this one out, but other than that, you can go ahead and look in other places. So if you've only been a telecommunicator for 4 years, you'll have your 3-year benchmark, and then each additional year of experience, full-time equivalent, is going to count for 2 points. So you have your 3 years and then any additional years. So if you've been here for 4 years, then you get 2 points. Okay. 5 years, you get another 2 points. So for each year of full-time experience, it's going to count towards 2 points. but you can only get you for a max of 10 points there, right? So you don't need all the other things. Years of service can count for exactly what you need, but some folks don't have the years of experience. So they have to rely on one of the other places that you can gather points, and those are all listed there. So at minimum, 3 years and 10 points. What's going to happen is, as I mentioned, you want to get all your ducks in a row. Once you realize that you are qualified to sit and you have to document this, you need to send over your application to the folks at NENA. NENA is going to then approve you to take the exam. They're the folks that are going to say, yep, you check off all the boxes. And then you will get a notification from the testing administrators, the folks that provide the testing, whether it's in person or remote, and we'll talk about that. You're going to get a notification from them saying you've been approved to pick your test date. So then you take a deep breath and you pick the test date. A lot of folks will go right for the last possible date just to have the time. But I do recommend taking it earlier in the testing period. God forbid something happens and you fall into one of the excusable situations where you can move that test. An emergency happens, or one of my scholarship winners last year had to postpone actually to the next testing cycle because they were hit with a pretty substantial hurricane down in Florida. So there was no way they were going to be able to even focus on taking the exam. And then they were awarded the opportunity to retest. So depending on what the situation is, I recommend going towards the earlier time of the test period, just in case you have the opportunity to retest in that same period. If you wait till the end and something happens, now you're going to have no choice but to move to the next testing period. And again, it's going to be certain criteria that will allow you to do that. Just some cool information. The first ENP exam was in April of 1997, and I was a baby dispatcher in 1996. So it seems like a lifetime ago. And there's only a total of 1,657 ENPs. And I know that what is really exciting is that this study group, since mid 2021, has produced a lot of those ENPs. So our pass ratio is pretty good here, and I'm super proud of that. Let's see, Robert, does time as a board member for the district qualify as experience? It has to be full-time communications experience, or full-time in your connection on the commercial partner side. So I'm not sure. I think we'll have to get a clarification and a definition on that as to, is it, because I know you guys are unique where you're a board member and you may oversee some things. We'll have to get some clarification on that. So you'll have to remind me. And 61 ENPs from Canada. So I cannot wait to see that number go up significantly over the next couple of years. So that's cool. As Melanie said, there is some value in making sure that you go into the links that are there to make sure that you know what is going to constitute as points towards your recertification. And again, in the interest of time, I'm not going to read all of the things that count towards points, but certain classes, certain things you do. I know starting a wellness program has now been added to that. There are several different ways for you to get points, but look at it this way. Figure out the total point accumulation that you need over that 4 years, divide it by the 4 years, and strive to get those points. Because if it does sneak up on you and you don't have the points, the only way you're going to be able to keep that certification for the next year is by retesting. And I don't think anybody wants to retest by choice. I'm going to say this, and I know I'm going to sound like it's going to be very silly because I know I already have plenty of points to take the exam. I mean, to recertify. However, I might actually retest because I think there's some value in seeing if everything I've been doing over the last few years is actually sticking in my brain and give me an opportunity just to, to get a good feel of the test exam. The jury's still out on that one. I'll probably just recertify with my points, but nonetheless, there is a recertification process. So you definitely need to look at that. So you need 24 points, which is an average of 6 points per year. Your certification is going to be good for 4 years. So make sure you're looking into that and you're getting your points each year. And that's what I just referred to. You can do it by points or by another exam. And the recertification fee is $300 for that 4-year period. And again, remember, if as far as financially goes, there are some pretty significant discounts that you get. So if you're looking to level up in the 911 space, you participate in trainings and conferences, etc. It makes sense to have this for sure. This section on the ENP certification page is your quick reference. It's going to bring you to some pretty important places, which I'm going to just show you which each one of those are. So anytime you need something quick, just go to that ENP certification, the NENA.org, and then there's something in the middle. ENP certification page, Google NENA ENP, it'll bring you right to that page. But we're going to go ahead and go through each one of those. The NENA Institute board, these are the folks that are the connection to the exam. These are the folks that do all the things that have to do with the exam, but they really only have kind of 2 functions. So the first one is to support the activities of NENA and its members by raising and maintaining professional standards in the field. And that's what this exam does, is it raises that standard. And then to define the body of knowledge, which indicates broad competence in the implementation and administration of emergency telecommunication services and provides a mechanism by which individuals may demonstrate to the Institute that they have acquired this knowledge. So they are the folks that oversee the questions, how things are being done, the study manuals. So they do all things around that ENP exam. And so here is your current board right here. And if you need to contact any of those folks. Ironically, I was the first person on the Confessions of an ENP off the cuff by Mark Fletcher. This is also accessible there. So that's a great thumbnail picture that he stopped on. But this is also accessible on that ENP page. I highly recommend you go and watch some of those videos, if not all the videos, because there's some very valuable information from the folks that have either recently taken the exam, have had it for a little bit. But what Mark Fletcher does is he gets the list of new ENPs and then he just starts reaching out to folks saying, hey, congratulations, want to come on my off the cuff? And there is a lot of valuable information that these folks are sharing, some of which I have obtained and will share along the way during our next several weeks together. If you have any questions on the NENA side, I recommend you reach out to enpcert@nena.org. I know a lot about a lot. However, if it is specific to NENA or how something's going to be done, or if something is going to constitute an excused change for moving your test date and things like that, I'm gonna point you towards them, because otherwise I'll get the email and then I'm gonna loop them in anyway. So while I do have the ability to answer a lot of questions, if it's very NENA specific and something where a decision has to be made, I am not going to be the person for that. The ENP application handbook, that's in one of those links on the ENP certification page. This should be, you should jump in there as soon as possible. And I recommend printing it. And again, you may be somebody who does well on the computer and you can sit and read on the computer. I'm more of a printed person. I want to have it in my hands. I want to be able to make notes on something. But it has kind of, I would say it's the Bible of the ENP exam. It has everything you're going to kind of need in there. It's going to answer the majority of the questions that you have. These are the things that it covers. So it has a little brief overview of NENA and the NENA Institute. It has information on the testing company, the folks that do the testing. What is the purpose of the certification, the goals of the certification, how you use the certification, denial and revocation of the certification, recertification, contents. It does have the body of knowledge specifically listed in there. The format of the examination, determination of the passing score. And we're going to go over some of these in general. And so I'm not going to continue to read down here, but I do want to point this out because again, so all of these things are in there. The one that I do want to specifically point out, because if it matters to you, you may not, if you don't jump in there and read it and see it and really understand it, you might miss it. And it might be something that you need, is the one at the top of the second column. If anyone should have any special needs. So as somebody who's diagnosed with ADHD, I have the ability to request more time to take that exam. I do believe that you have to have documentation of certain needs when it comes to any type of Americans with disabilities requirements. Just like if we were in school and you have, a little bit more time to take the exam, they do have certain things that are in place to be able to help you with that. So I point that out specifically because I want folks to know it's there. A lot of folks don't know it's there. They just kind of breeze over it and go through it, and they may have missed an opportunity, especially if they needed more time to take the exam. That's where you're going to find the actual application. So you can fill it out on a PDF and send it over. And then once they get it, you would determine how you're going to pay for that exam. That the payment needs to accompany it. So it's gonna tell you how to do that. Preparing for the exam, what to expect at the testing center, the rules. If you're going to do a remote exam, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but there's some rules that you have to follow with the remote exam. What to expect after the exam, how long it's going to take you to get your results. You'll get a preliminary score, a preliminary pass fail. And what I can tell you is that since I've been doing this, I have yet to see somebody get a pass, a preliminary, you have passed, and then it turn into a fail. But I have seen it on a few occasions, actually probably 6 occasions, where it was a preliminary fail and it turned into a pass. So they say don't celebrate or be disappointed until you have those official results, which is usually about 4 to 6 weeks after the exam. And then the body of knowledge, it has some sample questions in there, and then the actual application. So that this ENP application handbook is on that first ENP certification page, and you should definitely print that out. When we talk about how to take the exam, it is in person or remote. COVID allowed us to go towards the remote route. I had no choice but to take the remote route. As you can see, I'm in a home office. You can't see what's in front of me or on the sides of me, but they do require you to be able to show them. So if you have a big old desktop with a camera, it might make sense to have a camera that gets plugged in. You don't have to, but they're gonna expect you to show them around your workstation, under your workstation, on the other side of your workstation. On this side of my computer, I have a bunch of things on the wall. There's notes from my kids, there's pictures, there's pins, there's stickers, there's all kinds of things over here. And I had to cover that. So they told me that I needed to get something to cover that. And there's a proctor with you the entire time of the exam. So it's not like you can go, all right, I'll cover it and then take it down. They're basically babysitting you. I was also in a cast. If you've known me that long, you know that there was about a 5.5-month period. I was in a cast on my foot and ankle, and they actually had me put the camera to look into my cast to make sure that I didn't have any cheat sheets or notes in there. And then the in-person one, I don't know a lot about the in-person one, but what I do know is that you can't bring your phone in there. I do think they give you a piece of scratch paper, but for the most part, you're sitting at a desk with a computer and you are taking that exam. This website right here will give you more information about the remote proctor exams, like the things that you need to make sure are in place before you get in that room. Because the last thing you want to be doing is scheduling this, studying for it, getting to that moment, and then them telling you can't test because there's too much stuff around you, you have to move things, etc. So I highly recommend going to that website to make sure if you are going to remote test, you're following all of the rules in advance. So what is a passing score? Out of 150 questions, you have to get 105 of them correct. So that is your passing versus how many questions you have. So you have 150 questions, and I'm going to do a breakdown of what is covered in each section by the number of questions approximately you will see in those areas. You must study. You must study because I will tell you, like I said, I've been in this profession now for almost 26 years. When I took the exam, it had been about 23 years. And as I mentioned, I wasn't super strong in the technology part of it. And I felt like I was pretty knowledgeable in the operations. I had been a chief dispatcher for 15 years. I knew a thing or two about running a 911 center, but I will tell you is if you don't look through this material, you will not pass the exam. There's stuff that they are looking for that we should all be aware of, that we should all know, but we don't always know. It always comes down on how much effort did your place of employment put into teaching you about the Americans with Disabilities Act and harassment and bullying and the best way to schedule and procurement of things and budgeting and emergency management, preparedness, and the 4 different categories of that. So you must study. You must study. There have been folks that have jumped on and taken the exam and they have passed. Kudos to them. They are wicked smart. But the average person is going to have to study. And I don't want you to be misled into thinking, oh, I don't feel confident on the tech side, so I'm going to spend the majority of my time there. I think what you will find is you will put a lot of work into the tech side, and then it will be the operations side that you thought you were pretty confident in where you'll get the most wrong. So study, 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 study. The ENP reference manual, your study guide, I do highly recommend getting a copy of the study guide. Is it easy to read? No. Is it boring as hell? Yeah. But it has information in it that if you're not understanding something, you can go back and read it to the extent that they feel they want you to know about it. And so if you're talking about wireless 911 calls, if you didn't have the book and you needed to learn about wireless 911 calls and you started Googling this stuff, you could be led down a very quick rabbit hole and never to be seen again. I do use the study guide as well as some of the other resources that they list in the study guide to create my slide decks based on the body of knowledge. And I'll get into that in just a little bit too. But the book is $50 by itself. The online practice exam, I think, is 50 questions. It's not 50 questions that are going to be on the exam. They are considered retired questions that have come off the exam. However, it shows you kind of how the exam is set up, how the questions are going to be, and then $75 for the book and the online practice exam. So obviously the $75 is better. And then if you are done with your exam and you never want to look at that book again, consider donating it to someone. I would be happy to take it off your hands. I have lots of folks that reach out asking if I know of anybody that has a extra book. So Amber, it says NENA has $100 listed for both, for the book also. Oh, you're right. For both is $100. I apologize. See, that's that ADHD thing. I get it. The book and the practice exam are $100. Yeah, not sure how I did that. It was probably a copy and paste thing. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I will fix that before it goes out to you guys in the PDF form. I will never admit I'm perfect, especially when it comes to details. But I always try my hardest. Thank you, Amber. So the body of knowledge, this thing is, it's necessary. There's pieces of it that drives me bonkers. I hope that they update it in the near future. And then I hope they take some of my suggestions for updating it and have it flow a little bit better than what it does today. It can be a little challenging to understand. So I want to break through some things for you. But if you just want to find the NENA BOK, you can Google NENA Body of Knowledge, NENA BOK, go to that ENP certification, NENA website page. It's listed on there down in that section where all of the hyperlinks are. But you'll see that it doesn't bring you to a NENA website. It's actually located here. And then once you get there, it's going to be a PDF that is broken down into sections. And I'm going to go through those sections. I want to show you something on the sections in just a little bit. But I want to break this down. So when you look at the topic percentages, when you look at the body of knowledge, it is going to show you that operations and management, 50% is operations, and that's going to include telecommunications, information systems, and legislation regarding funding, enabling, and regulatory stuff. Okay. So that operations is made up. That's where your technology stuff is going to lie. That's where your Carrie's law is going to lie. And anything that has to do with the system and how calls are provided, and et cetera. That's the legislation that's going to be on that side. It's 5%. Okay. On the management side, you have a 50% on the management side, but it's management of the organization is going to be 20%. Management of the employees is going to be 25%, and legislation is going to be 5%. So we have 10% of the exam is legislation in different areas, right? So if you're stronger in one area versus the other, then focus on that area that you're not strong in, because the bottom line is if you're stronger in one area, there's only going to be a handful of questions on legislation. So if I get them wrong, I'm not going to totally bomb the exam. But if I need to focus my time in other areas, I think legislation is probably the place where we could take the smallest hit, I guess. And so I just wanted to show you what the breakdown is under operations. Out of 150 questions, 75 of them are going to be on the operations side, that technology and how the phone systems work, et cetera. And 75 of those questions are going to be on the management side. And there's a reason why I'm showing this a breakdown to you, because I was misled a long time ago, and I promise to correct this every session going forward. Is then when we look at the telecommunications operations, that's about 53 questions. So there is some heavy technology stuff, which then we add on another 15 questions under information systems. And then that legislation is going to be about 8 questions. So I just want to be clear, when I did the math, they came out with a 0.5 or a point something. Okay. I rounded these, I rounded them up. So the 35% of 150 is 52.5. So no, they're not whole numbers, but nonetheless, you can kind of get a gauge of what it's going to look like. And there's a reason why I'm doing this. And then go into the management of the organization. That's going to be that scheduling and procurement and emergency management, preparedness, and all of that. That's organizational. There's about 30 questions there. And then management of the employees is about 37 per question for that section under the 25%. And then again, about 7.5-ish of those are legislation. And these are going to be your employer laws, right? Harassment, bullying, unionizing. Okay. The Wagner Act, what gave employees the right to unionize, Civil Rights Act. What can you do towards pregnancy and what can't you do towards pregnancy? And so those laws and regulations. And then just to put into perspective, when you look at the numbers, they're about the same, right? So I put this little scale up here because this is what happens to folks. It has happened time and time and time again. And there are different tests, there are different exams, but there isn't one that is operations top heavy, and there isn't one that is management top heavy. If you look at those numbers, let me just go back for a second. When you look at those numbers, out of the 75 on each one, the breakdowns are about the same, right? So legislation is about 8, and legislation is about 8. And then when you look at the 53 plus 15 and then 30 to 37, they're the amount of the information that's in each one of those sections, it's going to be the same number of questions. What was explained to me by Steve Martini and Gary Bell, and is there's always this perception when somebody takes the exam, they say, oh, I got the one that was all management, or I got the one that was all technology. And we always wondered, like, how is that happening? How does one seem more tech heavy, or how does one seem more management heavy? And basically what it comes down to is, what do you know better, right? So I had somebody, and I can vision two different people, somebody who had been in the PSAT for the better part of their entire life, and then somebody who was on the tech side their entire life. And then both of them came to me, and this kind of solidified that understanding is, wherever you're weakest, that feels the heaviest. So imagine if I'm taking an exam on how to handle a 911 call, and there was another part of the test was on the technology piece and how the 911 call gets to you, and I wasn't familiar with the technology. When I leave the test, I'm going to say there was a lot of questions on technology, and it's not that there was any more or less in one area. It's those are the ones that stood out because they hurt the most, right? So when that question comes up and I don't know the answer to it, oh, it's a technology question, I don't know the answer. Oh, it's a technology question, I don't know the answer. But yet you've just answered the ones that you're familiar with, so it doesn't look as heavy. So they are even in their numbers, even though they're 2 different tests, they are even in their numbers. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I put this in here. It's a little silly, but it's important because I had somebody reach out to me in one of my first sessions when I kept saying PSAP. They sent me an email and said that they didn't mean any disrespect, but it is now ECC. We call it an Emergency Communication Center. And I just want to clarify this is you will hear me say PSAP when I make reference, because, yep, I'm going to go back to, I have a section on Quizlet. We'll talk about the study tools in just a few. The NENA folks still refer to the public safety answering point as the public safety answering point, and APCO folks are using the term ECC. And ECC has not collectively, as an industry, adopted ECC. So while I appreciated that, it is important to know that NENA is still using PSAP. So it's not that it's a term that has gone by the wayside. All of your NENA materials are still going to say PSAP because that's what we're referring to it as. That is by definition. So just wanted to throw that out there. You will hear me say PSAP. Sometimes I'll say ECC. It just depends on what I'm talking about or who I'm referring to at that time. So this is what the body of knowledge looks like broken down. I do have all of the screenshots in here. I am not going through them. I can assure you that you will have access. I'll show you where you will have access to that. I have the majority of the materials you're going to need in one place. So I hope that's helpful. And then, but I do want to show you something. There is no rhyme or reason to the order in which the things are listed. And then every once in a while, you're going to see something just kind of put there. And it's going to be a little confusing as to what is it that you need to know in that particular area on that particular topic. So I'll use on this left side of the screen, I'll use grade of service and blocking probabilities. That's a big topic. It's a big topic. And what I do is I go into the basics of what it is based on what is there, based on what is in the ENP reference manual in the 6.1 study guide. I did forget to mention this with the study guide. Some folks will reach out and ask me if I have a 6.0 study guide, is that still good? Yes, it is still good to an extent. There have been a couple of sections added to 6.1. They went a little bit deeper into mental health and wellness in 6.1, and they talk about 988 in 6.1. So if you're strong and well-versed in those two areas, then you may be fine getting away with the 6.0, and then even the 5 point whatever. It's good for the basic stuff. That stuff didn't change. They've just added more, but they haven't updated the body of knowledge yet. So I'll point something out there too. So where you see me put the information is based on the information that I am getting from the study manual and from the links to an extent. So if you're in the study manual, it will reference a link that NENA has that has some information. In full disclosure, I don't know how deep to go on these topics. So I go to the bare minimum, to the information that has been given. And in some places it might go way deeper, but I don't know. And I don't know because while I do ask folks, when you take the exam, I'm not asking you to come back and tell me the questions that were on it. I'm asking you to tell me if I should have went deeper into something, or if there was something on there that you saw that I never went over. Because there was a time in one of the tests that when they moved from, this was something that I kind of stumbled upon, is when they moved from the 6 to 6.1 study guide that had the wellness and the 988, the exam with that information on it went out before the study guide did. So what that means is I taught to the last study guide because the new study guide wasn't out. And then the folks that took that next exam, there was other wellness questions as well as 988 questions on it. And so I was like, how did that happen? And so we realized that when the book was released versus when the test went out were two different places. So they're going to hopefully not let that happen again. But again, I always ask, like, hey, if there's something on the exam that you did not see in my study group at all, please bring it to my attention, because all of the information that I'm teaching you on is based on this body of knowledge, which does not match everything in the study guide. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because as soon as you take the body of knowledge and you start looking at the study guide and you want to start matching things up and making sure that you're covering up, they're not going to match. They just, there's going to be some stuff over here, and then over here it's going to be in the back of the book, and it needs to be updated. And I've provided a ton of feedback to the Institute board. Hopefully that will move forward. But in full disclosure, I just want you to be prepared for that as you open the book and you're like, where is blah, blah, blah? It's on the body of knowledge, but it's not in the study guide, or it's in the study guide and it's not in the body of knowledge. So my advice to you is put all of it in your study materials. If it's in the body of knowledge, but it's not in the book, take what I give you, because I have tried really hard to make my slide decks accommodate all the information that's in the study guide and all the information that is on the body of knowledge. So that's just a disclosure piece. Okay. You can see how it is broken down in each of these sections. Most of the time, if you know what the thing is, you're going to be good. I haven't seen any places where you have to go so far into the definition, like way down into that definition. Okay. There are some breakdowns in the Canada stuff right here. So whether or not this is, if these things are specific or if they're familiar to us, that's the stuff our Canadian friends are going to help us out on. And we're going to work together to make sure that we're covering the information that is needed. And then our special legislative areas. And then one of the things that this is, again, where I want you to understand that if I'm understanding in this way or I'm not understanding in this way, I just think it's valuable information to share, is under this special legislation area, MLTS, there is a section in the study guide on MLTS. So I would know that whole section, including Carey's law, et cetera, because that kind of goes in hand in hand. But when it comes to things on this list, like TDD protocols, I don't fully know what it is that they're really looking for, because there may not be a section in the study guide. And if I just Google TDD protocols for 911, every state is different as to what their protocols are and how they're handling calls. Like Massachusetts, we have a silent call procedure. We have a TTY procedure. And then the same thing with EMD dispatching. So when you have special legislative areas and EMD is listed there, there's no place really that it's saying to what extent do we need to know legislatively about EMD. And I have asked to have this cleaned up and clarified, and it hasn't as of yet, because again, every state is different. Massachusetts has a state mandate for EMD. Okay, so just know. And again, all of this stuff is listed on your body of knowledge. I'm not going to go through it all, but as you can see, it's a lot of information. Okay. And then I want to jump into the class logistics. Okay. So the classes are held on Fridays from 3 to 4:30 Eastern. Marlene, do U.S. agencies need to know the topics relating to Canada? As it is my understanding, no, you do not. I don't know of anybody in the United States that has seen anything that is Canadian on their exam. And if anybody knows any different, let me know. But no, you do not have to be studying the Canadian question information that's in that study manual. So the classes are held from 3 to 4:30. You should have, if you have registered, and again, if you're watching this after the fact, if you registered, you should have had a link to the Google group as well as the invite. It is a self-paced class. If you cannot be on, no problemo. But I don't need to know you're not going to be here. Right now I have like 300 people or something. I don't know. I don't know how many it is at this point, but by the end, there's going to be over 300 people registered for the study group. And I don't need to know that you're not going to be here. The way that I do it is so you can sleep when you're supposed to sleep. If you have meetings you can't be on, you can be on for half. That's great. Come and go as you please. You don't need to tell me. When you come into it, just like today, some of you will saw, you'll be in a waiting room. As soon as I jump on, I will go ahead and start the webinar. You will not be able to be seen, or you can't speak verbally. We do everything through the chat feature. And this is, I had to do it this way for a couple of reasons. I'm not going to get into it, but this is actually using the Zoom webinar platform for everything I do after the fact is it just is much, much better. And then after the session, so after today's session, there's a whole bunch of steps that have to take place. And then on Monday-ish, sometimes I get it done over the weekend, not always, because by this time I'm fried, especially if I've been traveling all week. But by the end of the day, Monday-ish, if you don't get it by the end of the day, Monday, it'll be in your inbox first thing Tuesday morning. And that's when you'll get the link to where the PDFs are, where the MP3s are, where the videos are going to live. And then at minimum, the recordings will be on the On Scene First with Tracy Eldridge YouTube channel under the 2024 Winter Spring ENP Study Group playlist. There's no playlist right now because there's no video there. As soon as that first video is released onto the platform, the YouTube, I can then go ahead and make the playlist. Some folks have asked for the slides before the sessions. I would love to be able to get you the slides before the sessions. However, that's not going to happen for two reasons. Number one, I am always updating my slides. If you've been in my study group before, you're probably seeing that the slides look very different. I've put a lot of time into moving them over to a more aesthetically pleasing slide deck. The other thing that I do on a regular basis is I go through the book again. I go through some topics that maybe I don't feel fully strong on, and then I add slides to it. But based on my schedule and my ADHD, I cannot do anything in advance. I'm working on them probably right up to the day before, or if not the morning of. That's just the way that I roll. It's how I have to do things. So me sending it to you is not going to happen for that reason. And then as you can see, I've made a couple of errors on this that get pointed out, and I don't want to send something out and then have to send it out again if I have to correct something before it goes out. So with that, I apologize, but you won't get the slides in advance. The YouTube channel is here. Again, you'll have this link, or you can just go onto YouTube and search On Scene First with Tracy Eldridge. It will come up. I recommend that you follow, subscribe. You will receive a notification as soon as that email, as soon as the video is posted. And again, just to be clear, in full transparency, the way that my assistant and I will go through this process, because I have some help with this one, and I'm super appreciative of that, is the first thing we do is upload that video. We're not going to send out the email until the video is uploaded, right? Because it takes some time. And then when the video gets uploaded, it takes a while because it's over an hour and a half video. So it usually takes time, and then it has to formalize or format or something. And then I will take the audio off of that video, and then it will go into the MP3 pile. And so there's steps, right? And the reason why I'm explaining this is because sometimes folks will get notified that the video is uploaded, but then they'll email me and say none of the other materials are available. So just know that I can't put everything in one place at one time. So it's getting piecemealed, put where it's supposed to go. When you get the email from the Google group is when everything is in its home. So hopefully that is self-explanatory. When you go to the YouTube channel, the playlist cover is going to be this image. There's other thumbnail with a different kind of background, but this is the one that you're looking for there, with the on scene first on the side and the little circle and my name on the bottom like that. So look for that one. And then here is the Google stuff that we utilize. I learned very early on that Google Groups is a great way to keep everything in one place. So you should have received a link to access the Google Group. If you have not if you have not received access and you're on now because you got the calendar invite and you jumped in because you had the Zoom link, and you need access to the Google Group, what I'm going to ask that you do is email info@onscenefirst.com. I apologize. I meant to put that on this slide, but that will go to my assistant who's helping me kind of keep folks moving in there. And she's amazing at keeping this stuff organized. But if for whatever reason you're hearing my voice, meaning you got because nobody outside of the calendar invite has the link to this right now. So if you're hearing the sound of my voice and you have registered and you have not had access to the Google group, you need to email info@onscenefirst.com. What happens there sometimes is because it is a Google domain, some work emails will say, nope, you can't get in. So you'll just work with her to get to a place where you can actually get in there. And so there's that. Okay. Big thing. I don't even think you can. I think I may have found the right setting that doesn't allow you guys to actually post in there. But at no time, if you receive the email from the group, it'll show my name, but the email will be the 2024 email group or whatever. Please don't reply to all if it lets you reply to all. The first year I used this, I didn't realize the magnitude of that, and folks would reply all asking a question to me, and it would keep going off, and it was super frustrating for folks. So I do start off every email with "do not reply to all," just in case somebody missed this, or I don't think you can. I think I have it set up that you can't. But if you should have any question or want to share something with the group, say you found a new way, it is repeating that email. It is info@onscenefirst.com. So info@onscenefirst.com. And that's so if you haven't received that access to the Google group. And so I think I shut off the feature to be able to respond to all. But if you have something you want to share with the group, say you stumbled upon an amazing resource, just shoot it to me in an email and I'll be happy to put it in the next update, or I will send it out. I'm trying to be very neat and organized in this Google group. So if you need to just go back and get to a session that you missed, you can find it easily. And there isn't like 47 different emails on stuff. So don't worry, I'm not going to be sending out a ton of emails. You'll get at least one email a week, and that's going to have the all the links. But if there should be a schedule problem, There have been times where I've been trying to fly home and something happens and I end up having to get on a different flight and I have to unexpectedly cancel. That's why I have a few extra weeks built in there in case one has to be canceled. But I always communicate that in advance. This is what your Google Drive looks like. So one of the links is going to give you access. It's just going to say to access all the materials. It's one link versus saying this is the MP3s, this is the PDFs. My Google Drive is set up where it is in order this way. But you can set it up however you want your to be able to see it. But as you can see, this is this group. We have an MP3 folder. We have the session PDFs will be in this folder. The ENP body of knowledge is already in there. The NENA abbreviations list for ENP is there, and an older version of the NENA glossary, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So if we don't have any questions about the Google stuff, and then the Google Calendar invite, again, if you have registered and you did not, you're finding this video after you registered, but you didn't get access to that, please let me know because your email might be blocking it. So as far as study materials go, I have a PDF of the old NENA glossary of terms. That has since been replaced. I just happen to have a copy of it. I did find that it was beneficial to still have a copy of that, because if I wanted to find a specific definition of something and it's not in this NENA knowledge base, I will go back to that PDF. I'll hit Command F and I will search it. I will search the document, because there are some words that I have found that are in the glossary of terms, the PDF, but they have not been successfully moved over to the NENA knowledge base. So this NENA knowledge base, you can ask for access with creating an account. I don't know of what the account does besides give you another logon and password. I don't know if you get access to anything different. I have an account. I don't see anything different from when I'm logged in and when I'm not. But if needed, what I recommend is you use this tool that if there's something on there that says like that service blocking capabilities, go in and type in service blocking and see if there's something that comes up. Because I think what you're going to find is if it's a NENA definition, they're going to use that for the exam, if that makes sense. Here is that document that I was talking to you about. So it was this one, the one that I have is from 6th of 2021. But if you were to find this now, it has archived written all over it and it's been put away. But I do have the copy that I used in the beginning. I also created this abbreviation list that is in the Google Drive. Abbreviations are a big deal when it comes to this exam. You need to be using some type of an abbreviation list and start looking at the abbreviations that you know and you don't know. I recommend printing out this list and then highlighting the ones that you know right off the bat, and then spending some time with the ones that you are not 100% sure of. As far as the practice exam goes, this is always a work in progress for me. It is my intention to have some type of practice exams for you. I'm going to try to do a few throughout the 15 weeks or 13 to 15 weeks that we're together versus having one big one. But again, there's a lot of heavy lifting that goes with these exams. The first exam that I had that I was using, I had pulled a lot of practice exam questions from various different places like Quizlet and, you know, some of the other places that I've been able to find them. But then I would stumble upon an answer that wasn't correct. This last study session, I had enlisted the help of others, which you can do, and the world will not spin off of its access. And I reached out to a bunch of folks and asked them to create some questions for me based on each of my slide decks. And I got a ton of questions and I put them in a testing format, and it looked like an amazing test, but I haven't got any feedback as to whether or not it was helpful or not. So I need to reach out to some folks and see which is the better way to do that. So, but at some point you will have a practice exam. I'm just not going to give you a date and time. I don't do that. Somebody had asked about Quizlet. Quizlet is amazing. It is amazing. This website right here, Quizlet.com, subject ENP, will bring you in here. You can download the app onto your phone. You could be going through flashcards in the doctor's office, in the grocery store, when you're waiting in line, at work. You could just be kind of going through the questions. And I had another, down here. So this is when you type in the ENP, when you put in this URL, this is the page it brings you to. And there's a whole bunch of study sets. A lot of folks have built study sets. But what's good about it is you can use flashcards, learn, test, match, teach me. And it's just repetitive. This was one of the best tools that I used to help me understand the definitions and abbreviations. And we are going to go over just a couple of minutes. I know that it's a lot for the first session, but I had to. So if you need to jump off, jump off. The recording will be available soon. I want to say, as far as the scholarships go, I want to say thank you to these sponsors right here. So we got Rapid SOS, Responder Services Consulting out of Texas, and LB Comms out of Massachusetts. These are the folks that are generously funding the ability to have 7 scholarships. Right now I have 7 scholarships thanks to these guys right here. Hopefully we'll have more to share over the next few weeks. The scholarship is open as of today, and it will close on December 8th, 2023. It's a short window. So if you're interested in getting your hands on one of the scholarships for the exam, I recommend going in there and taking care of it. But it's the onscenefirst.com/scholarship. And there's the QR code if you should want to go right to that website. It's there for folks watching it after the fact, or you can snap a picture of it now. There is an eligibility checklist for the scholarship. You must be registered as an attendee of this On Scene First study group. If you're not a member yet, it'll prompt you to join. You must meet the NENA criteria for testing. There's a place you can click to see what the testing criteria is. You must be prepared to take the winter 2024 testing period. So this scholarship is specific to that first exam. I can't go further because I can't have a lot of pieces, I'm taking it this time and I'm taking this time and trying to keep track of what's everybody doing. So whenever I do a study group, the scholarships are available for the very next next testing period. And your agency cannot cover the exam, meaning they don't offer it. It's not a matter of like, if I get a scholarship, then they don't have to pay for it and I can put the money somewhere else. The reason I'm doing these scholarships is there's a lot of folks that have to pay out of their pocket, and their agency will not actually fund they won't fund them to take the exam. So just keep that in mind. If your agency will fund it and can fund it, then it doesn't make sense to put in for it. And then this is key. I have to crack down on this, is your agency admin decision maker. I'm going to start with your director, whoever is the decision maker for your agency. If you put in for the scholarship, you're going to need to list their name, email, and phone number. And you need to tell them that I'm going to be reaching out to them. That is a must. And you will acknowledge that you have communicated when you submit the application, you have communicated to your director or admin decision maker that you have put in for this scholarship. Because this last testing period, I had 8 scholarships and I was not able to give all of them away for a couple of different reasons. And I ran into a problem on several of the applications. I had 30 applications, which was great. But the majority of them, their manager had no idea what this was about. They didn't know anything about it. Some managers got irritated because people were putting in for it and other people were more senior, and it turned into something that I wasn't expecting. So to prevent any nonsense, And I don't want to, at the last minute, be sending out an email to a director saying, hey, can you verify this? And tell me whether or not this person has the ability to have their test paid for, and then expect that director to email me back within a day or two. So as the applications are coming in, I'm going to be reaching out to the directors. So we're not doing this at the last minute and then scholarships go unused. There is the acknowledgement. So again, I understand this is on a financial need. You have to be, thanks, Holly, no problem. You have to be able to test and have your application in by the 10th, and you will sign off on all of those things. So with that, I do want to just share, that's the scholarship information. It's there. This QR code is to the On Scene First website. If you did stick around, as I just want to share a couple of things that I do throughout the year, so you don't miss out on some of the opportunities. So again, that first thing I would ask that you do is hop on over and subscribe to the newsletter so you don't miss out on some of these really cool things that I do throughout the year. And then the QR code is up there as well. First, in April, for the third year in a row, I will be conducting the third On Scene First National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week celebration, where we give out lots of prizes. I get lots of sponsors. It's an amazing event where I go live every night at 7 p.m. or Monday through Friday during Telecommunicator Week. But if you wanted to get a jump on registering for that, you can head over to onscenefirst.com, National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, to do that, get some more information there. I also have an awards program, and this is the first, so some of you are seeing that award in the middle for the first time. It has not publicly been announced yet, but I give away some specific awards during Telecommunicator Week. So if you want to look and see what that criteria is, right now, the only one that has criteria for submission is the one Blake T. Haskell Excel in Excellence Award. There's some very specific criteria there for that. Wendy Lynch won that last year, rightfully deserved, super proud of her. But Blake was a dear friend of mine, and he passed away from COVID a couple of years ago. And he was a huge mentor of mine. And I want to make sure that his name stays in the 911 space in my world. And on August 2nd, we lost a dear friend of the industry, Nicole Ford. And this award, well, I'll actually be giving away 3 of these this year, because there's 3 people that are very deserving of this award. And it is the Nicole E. Ford Beacon of Hope Award. And those I will be choosing to give to folks that are making a difference in the 911 space when it comes to mental health and wellness, and raising awareness and fighting for the heroes. And then the same with the Saving Lives on Both Sides of the Call Award. I give one of those away each night during Telecommunicator Week, and that's for the person that is doing a great job in the 911 space, but they're also doing things outside of the center that is contributing to being a good human and helping save lives on both sides of the call. So that website's going to be built up a little bit over the next couple of weeks, but nonetheless, it's there. So there's the QR code. Check out the podcast if you haven't had a chance to check out my podcast. I interview a lot of public safety difference makers. That had to take a little bit of a back seat. I will be ramping up the interviews in the very near future. I've just been traveling and speaking a ton, so haven't done too much there. But if you have a story to tell, go to the website there with that QR code, or just jump on my website and you can put your name in, and I will be happy to have you on the show, because I want to talk to more amazing folks in the 911 space. And last but not least, I launched the On Scene First store, which a lot of the majority of the proceeds from anything that I sell on that website goes right back into 911. I've partnered with Squad Life. They are a New York-based company. The primary owner is a New York City police officer, and he works with a veteran, and they do a lot of great things. But any of the proceeds go back towards the 911 community, whether it's for the study groups, the telecommunicator celebration. I've provided copays for folks that needed to get some mental health help, but they couldn't afford the copay. Financial assistance to folks that have been struggling with medical stuff, sponsorships, and anything that I can do to give back. So I'm not looking to make money on these things. I'm just looking to provide some cool things and give back to the 911 space. So mostly stickers up there. There's some blankets. There's some clothing, and my challenge coins should be up there in the next few weeks. So if anybody's interested, please feel free to check it out. And that's all I have for you today. I know I went over a little bit, so thanks for sticking it out. We will be back next Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern to jump into the actual topic. So until next time, heroes, stay safe, stay strong, and stay here. We need you.